Hey everybody, welcome back. Oh Jesus, Rick, lay off. Yeah, Rick is still in a bit of Minecraft mode, so go
Yeah.
figure.
Oh
I
God.
mean, that's what Walmart did to me as well, lay off.
Uh,
He went there.
uh, so
They went there.
okay, so I would say, welcome everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Beardy Boys. This is episode 14, and
Damn.
yeah, 14. Yeah. So
However it is on your camera.
yeah. It works either way. So, yeah, 14 episodes. I still can't believe it. I still can't believe we are at that number. It's still the fact that we're 14 episodes in on this still just blows me away.
It's a
And
lot.
yeah, and I'll say and here's another thing I'll say. This whole thing, I can't express enough the appreciation for all of you out there who have tuned in, and also for Chad and for Rick to be a part of this and to make this a reality. And to our 215 subscribers out there, I know that there's others out there who are aware of us. Why ain't y'all subscribed yet? We're
Yeah, what
right
the
here,
hell?
right here. Come on, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah, bring it
Yeah.
on. Bring it on,
Well, I'm
baby.
thankful for you
Where's
two
my sword?
dudes and you guys.
Hey.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Glad to be here.
So, okay, we had a pretty big week last week with a bunch of news and stuff going on, and I figured I would start with the thing that happened literally the day after we streamed or the day after we recorded. Twitch did a dumb,
In their
Nothing
infinite
new.
wisdom.
and which is fairly normal for the whole thing. But here's what happened. Twitch basically said, "Okay, we're going to make it to where it was a whole bunch of stuff. You could not display logos that were not from Twitch. They had to be less than like 3% of your screen. So like imagine like a little thing like up here. That's about that. That's
Dum
about
da
it.
dum dum dum.
And then not only that, but they
was
also
like-
said that you couldn't advertise. Yeah, so like that. Yeah, like that. They also said that you could not have advertise. Like direct in advertisements of like products that weren't Twitch related, and they basically kneecapped a lot of people's ability to make money through sponsorships and everything like
Yep.
that. And whenever this was announced, several big streamers called it out, but then I think Twitch realized that they had a problem whenever OTK, the OTK clan, One True King, they basically came out and said, yeah, if this happens, we're leaving, period. And yeah, basically, Asmon, Esfand, Mizkif, Imiru, Soda Pop, and they all basically just said, if this happens, we're going to Kick immediately. We are just gonna start live streaming on Kick. See you
Yeah.
later. And honestly, it took Twitch about a total of 2 days. Like they tried like the next day to try and like temper it and just be like, okay, well, we still feel like we're in the right. We still feel like we're doing the right
course.
thing. And then the day after that, eventually they were just like, okay, we're sorry. But here's the thing: they didn't fully walk it back. Instead, they basically are taking YouTube's approach to it, and there's like, oh, we could enforce this, and we have the right to enforce this, but we're probably not going to. But that's the whole thing. The probably in that. Probably not
Right.
going to enforce this. And that's where I run into some issues. I'm just like, dude, this is insane. Why in the hell would you deliberately go out of your way to screw over the people who have helped build your platform? I don't get that.
It
Because
doesn't
they're
make any
money
sense.
hungry. It's money hunger.
Well, it's just like D&D. The Wizards of the Coast basically saying,
my
"Oh,
God.
we want to monetize. We feel like the Dungeons and Dragons isn't monetized enough." It's like if Gary Gygax were here right now, he would slap every single one of you in the face and tell you to get over yourselves.
But it's Hasbro. It's not even fucking Wizards of the Coast anymore,
Oh,
really.
it's Hasbro.
And guess what? They had a chance to do something that I've always dreamed of. And that is to put Lord of the Rings into Magic the Gathering. And they are botching it tremendously. Tremendously. And I have a huge problem with Aragorn being made to do blackface. I have a huge problem with that.
Tokenize
Because
everything.
well, yeah, and I keep seeing these fucking people be like, if this is your hill to die on, if you're really angry about this, then you're the problem. There's something wrong with you, and there's something, dude, please get the fuck out of my face and stop trying to act like you know me. You don't know me. But one thing you can learn about me is the fact that shit that is like it's like one of the greatest works in the history of mankind is not meant to be bastardized by your fucking morality plays to try and make money off minorities. They don't give a
That's all it
shit
is.
about
Wokeism. It's
empowering
called
anybody.
wokeism.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they don't give a shit about empowering anybody or trying to be inclusive and make people feel like they belong. Do you know how many people I've seen who are minorities who have been online saying, "No, motherfuckers, we don't want this. We want a card with Aragorn on it."
Exactly. Well, and here's the thing about it: like people who will just like die on the hill. It's like you're really willing to die for these companies who do not give a shit about you. Literally, these companies would push your head
It's not even the
underwater.
companies, dude. It's not even the companies that bother me. It's the fucking uh never left his fucking mom's basement white dude that's like, "You're racist for not liking this. If you have a problem with this, you're racist." I'm like, dude, you literally don't know how to socialize with fucking anybody. You look like a fucking rooster with neon green, blue fucking spiked hair. You've done up your makeup and everything to never go outside to take pictures for your fucking Twitter account. And you're going to sit here and criticize someone who has tons of people in my life who are all different shades of ethnicities and cultures and backgrounds and have for years. And my problem is that you say you're going to make Lord of the Rings based merchandise, and then these people fucking don't. And so you're saying my only problem with that is because I'm a racist, because I don't agree with that. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
Oh,
I'm
but
not saying, hey,
that
Wizards of the Coast, why don't you invent some fucking characters that just so happen to be diverse and make everyone feel included? Oh my God, did I protest the fact that they had an LGBTQ set? No, I thought it was strange that they would target a demographic to say, give us money. Hey, celebrate us. We're going to take advantage of the fact that you're different. Give us money. Like, whatever, do whatever you guys want to make yourselves look like you're inclusive and whatever, but you shall not pass, motherfuckers, when it comes to Tolkien, right? I'll let it stretch with Amazon. They can say that, there were different shades of skin tones for various elves. Let's just say that maybe Tolkien didn't go by and fucking descript every single elf ever to live in the way that they look. Sure, maybe there were some that were, African looking elves. Okay, maybe. My mind can at least entertain that. But Aragorn is a main character in the franchise. It is no question mark of anything about him, including his ancestors for like 100 fucking years.
Yeah, and also Tolkien was very descriptive of what Aragorn looked like. Extremely
That's what I'm
descriptive.
saying. You
Yeah.
don't have to guess. There is no guesswork with certain characters. And
Yeah.
Aragorn being like one of the main fucking characters in the entire franchise, it's like you don't have to get. There's no guesswork for this. So
No.
what they're doing in a sense is they're taking this character and they're saying, "Hey, accept this." Even though it's completely different and the only fucking place that you will ever see this is Magic the Gathering, accept it. No. No.
No.
In essence, they made Aragorn do blackface for their company. That's the way I see it. I don't see it as who would feel included by that. I want to know who is empowered by Aragorn being presented as a black man.
No one.
Nobody.
Not a soul. It's because here's another thing too. It's like all the people making these decisions are out of touch, like white people who just want to pretend like, oh, I want to be I'm a friend. I have acquaintances who might be of a certain ethnicity that African Americans is just like
But it's
who are
great.
just
It's great. It's great that people are people and everybody's different and there's all this wide-ranging diversity and shit. Like my life is made better drastically because there are so many different people around me and around that exist. Like I love diversity and I
well.
think that it's a great fucking thing. But there's a difference between that and taking Aragorn and putting him in blackface on your cards. To me, that's like the movie Soul Man, as I've said before. To me, that's like it's blatantly like we're doing you guys a favor. You're not doing them. You're not doing minorities a favor.
It's almost like the Little Mermaid, and like
I don't give a shit about the Little Mermaid either. That's not nearly as big of a deal. That's a child's story. We're
yeah,
talking about like extremely detailed, deep seated fucking lore written by a goddamn professor who created language and maps. Like this is so fleshed out. You don't have to play around with nothing. It is all there, plain as it can fucking be.
well, that's the reason why I mentioned the Little Mermaid, because a lot of the stuff with Disney, back in like the old movies from the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and stuff like that, a lot of the princesses are based off of a country. Like for example, I believe where Ariel is placed is between, I think like close to Dutch, so ironically, and so like, 'cause I think what happened was Tarzan's family, was sailing and they crashed and they drifted they drifted somewhere, and then I forgot what there was there was a more recent Disney movie where it was one of the kids of, I guess, the theory of the Tarzan parents, or actually royalty. You see those people at a wedding,
Yeah.
so if like they're connected, basically that timeline is connected. So Tarzan and these two more modern
Oh, I
movies,
know the ones
I
you're
think, like
talking about.
Tangled.
It's
I think it was Tangled.
Frozen and Tangled. Yeah.
Yeah, Frozen, Tangled, and Tarzan. They're connected.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently,
Interesting.
Tarzan is the long lost brother of Elsa and stuff like that. So the main
Interesting.
point I'm trying to say is that Little Mermaid is based off of basically that little strip of water in between. Meaning, if you go based on the origins and even the origin of Little Mermaid, even said it was in Dutch, meaning mostly Dutch people are fair skin.
Right.
Yeah.
But
So
I've
they already
Red
built
also
hair,
that
blonde
lore.
hair, brown hair.
I've also seen lots of super racist, obviously racist people be like, I ain't drinking Bud Light no more and I ain't watching no Black Little Mermaid. And it's like, who gives a fuck about the Black Little Mermaid, dude? If that's your biggest plot in life, give me a fucking break. To me, the
Well,
Little Mermaid is way down here. Making Aragorn black is like way fucking up here
well,
because
and
it's
here's
like,
well, and I know for the big thing with all these Disney films, I think just people are getting sick of it. People are getting sick of being pandered to,
I
and
am.
and I know that you mentioned it, Chad. There's a lot of people online who are just like, oh, like why do this? Why do you do these things? Oh, it's
it
because
would be different if it was. Here's my thing about it. If you are genuinely respecting someone's heritage and trying to uplift a group of people, we should all be celebrated, dude. Humanity has some really ugly shit about it, but there's so much focus on that we never mention the quality, amazing fucking things that each culture has to offer, the art, the cuisine. There's things about every culture that is fucking beautiful and awesome. And the only things that we highlight a lot of times are
the
skin
negatives.
tone and how bad people have been treated. And there's so much to be done to fix certain things, but there's never a time for celebration in earnest. There's a time where people pretend to celebrate so they can capitalize and monetize on the differences of other people, but they don't truly celebrate.
No.
You know, just imagine if there was a fucking badass African set of cards that they made based off of African lore and the monsters and the fucking heroes and
Well,
shit of
yeah, it's like,
Africa.
dude, like Santeria.
That would be amazing.
Dude, like a card based on like Ogun, like from Santeria. You know, like the god of steel, like the African god of steel. It's like,
There's
dude,
tons
that's
of shit
freaking
out there,
awesome.
but it's like I don't know as much about that. It's never something that as a fucking white dude from the hills of the Appalachian Mountains that I don't get through media the exposure to true African lore and heritage and all of that shit that could be celebrated but isn't
Oh
because they want to
God.
make Aragorn black.
Well, and no,
They'd
and
rather
here's the
do
thing.
that.
Here's another thing too. They try to do that, but then they get it wrong. That's just like that one movie that can't the Woman King. Um, Originally, it was going to be Lupita Nyong'o who was going to be the lead in that, and then she actually looked up the history. She's like, no, like the women that were playing here were slavers, and they enslaved like millions of people during their lifetime. So why would I want to? And then turns out you look at who wrote it. It was two white women who wanted to
Oh wow.
like do female empowerment and do like and like do like African pride. It's just like yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, just let's look at the like the Woman King.
Dude, I hate to say it. I hate to say it. White people have been instrumental in fucking up race relations, and they have been instrumental in fucking up trying to fix race relations also.
I'm looking at the two. Okay, all right. I'm gonna share this with you all. Here are the two women who wrote the one. The all black, like mostly female. Led the Woman King. Here they are. This is them. Let me see if I can do the. There we are. Let me do the quartet and share screen.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Hold on. Sorry. There we go.
Yeah.
That's one. That's two. They were the two writers, and here is the director. Just like yeah, I don't really like. It's just like okay, and it's not really doing any favors. It's not really doing any favors for like.
I just don't understand. I just don't understand. And it's not my lane. I'm staying out of that just because they've suffered enough grief for it.
Well, it's.
I mean, I think even like part of it hits my lane of it because my
Sure.
heritage and stuff like that. You know, I'm Hispanic, but I'm also I'm Puerto Rican, so we have African history in our lineage, all that
Yeah.
kind of sort. So it's like it's it's just wokeism, and
That's all it is.
if you wanted to actually care about like basically my people or people who are from the same ancestry as I have, then like you just said, you will find ways to create a new story with new characters that will do it justice. Don't get things that already been made and already in a certain way because of how the lore is or whatever the case may be. It already has its direction. Leave it be.
Yeah.
And then just add more characters on top of it.
Well, there's lots to choose from. There's plenty of lore and mythology and shit like that from all over the world. Everybody
Exactly.
has been telling wild stories forever.
Yeah.
So like use that. And
Oh.
then you're right. If they're going to tell a story about a kingdom in Africa, they damn sure better be using black performers to play those roles because it fucking that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Give
like
them
I
their
may not
time,
be
dude.
I may not be a big fan of modern Marvel, but at least they're doing it correctly with some of the stories. Like Miss Marvel, background is Middle Eastern. At least they got an actual Middle Eastern person.
Yeah,
And it
Miles
actually is
Morales is getting done justice too, which is
exactly.
really fucking cool. I can't wait to see a live action Miles Morales Spider-Man. That shit's gonna be fucking awesome.
Like,
Oh,
yes,
Like
like
we've
even in the
talked
movie
about
he does
before,
look black, but
we've
at
talked
least with the
about it
mother,
before. We've talked about it before. They fucked up in the beginning with Miles Morales and then fleshed him out and did it right throughout time. I think Nate was the one that pointed that out, how it was a little bit of a sloppy start and then they fucking made a legitimate character.
My only like if they are the cast list, who is it that was going to be playing Rio Morales, his mother? Sonequa, was it Sonequa Martin Green? Was that who it is? That's because if let's see, Miles Morales movie, like a live action, like the live action one that you're talking about. Okay,
what is that gonna be a thing for real?
that's what they're saying. Yeah, they talk about it like it being a real life, like a real thing, and I think it might have been like someone posted it just like here's my dream cast, and the person they had with as Rio Morales, I'm just like one problem because it was a Sequina Martin Green, and she's not even Latino. she's a
Yeah, the
black
mother
woman from,
has to be a Puerto Rican woman.
yeah, well, yeah,
For real.
yeah, and I honestly, that's a whole big thing, and I really hope that if they do it right. But the Miles Morales like across the Spider-Verse is just like it's blown up right now, and a lot of people love. And I need to go watch it in theaters.
Same.
Yeah, me too.
Before it goes out. But we were talking about characters out there. You know, there's actually a movie that I want made. The story of Yasuke. Have you ever heard of Yasuke?
No.
Yasuke was a black man who was sold into slavery and went to Japan.
Oh, was this the Afro Samurai dude?
This is what
The real
Afro
one?
Samurai is based off of, and he became the weapon bearer and retainer for Oda Nobunaga, literally one of the most famous Japanese warlord. He was called the Great Unifier because he went on basically a campaign to unify all of Japan together, and
That's
he
fucking
mostly
sick.
succeeded. And Yasuke was a big part of that. Where's that film? Where's that freaking movie? I want that movie. And that's a real historical thing that you can pull on. There are so many things there's so many things out there that people could pull on and don't shy away from the ugly history. Be honest with people because this is the age of the internet. People are going to Google shit and then they're going to write articles about it, and then next thing you know, everyone hates your film because you were trying to
Oh my god,
Or a
dude.
movie about
paint with a broad
Mansa
brush. Mansa Musa, another one. That's another film that you could do, and it would just show like how effective he was at just like destroying economies by just throwing gold around willy nilly. He didn't give a shit.
Currently in history, in known history from this planet being a thing, he is the richest man that ever walked on this planet.
Ever. Period.
Even the money that Elon has or
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos,
Dude.
can't even touch what he has.
I was gonna say if you put those two together, it would still like not even be half of what Mansa Musa had in terms of the money he had at his disposal. Because he was from Ghana, and Ghana had a shit ton of gold, and they just exported it all over the country, and basically wrecked every economy they went into.
Who would you get to play him?
Idris Elba.
I was gonna say that.
Aesop Ferg.
No.
Akon.
No.
He'd come through.
Ooh,
Shabba
Akon.
ranks.
Akon be
Shabba
nice.
ranks. Yeah, Akon.
Yeah, but I just
He
say
has a
Idris
long
Elba.
ass name.
I just
He
say
does help a
Idris
lot of people
Elba.
out.
He has the accent because
Well,
from Africa.
Well, and
Plus,
plus,
I think where he lives now too. He's trying to he's trying to build his own city.
who? Idris Elba?
No, Akon.
Oh,
He's gonna have an Akon city, and he was trying to make.
and he is from
cryptocurrency.
Senegal, and that's close to
Yep.
Ghana. Plus, also Ghana has a good like motion picture like a good foothold in motion pictures anyway. I mean, Jake worked on several films with them,
Hell
and
yeah.
they were awesome. They like Jake said, like you talk about like people who knew their shit and knew like script writing and like filmmaking. They knew their shit, and basically for him, he was just like, I don't want to get in the way, and that's all he could do, and it was great. And I would say like use an actual Ghanan film company to help make this. Like have them be
True.
associated with the production, get actual Ghanan like Ghanan actors, and just like tell a good story. That's all you have to do. Tell a good story, for God's
Right.
sakes. Uh
Oh shit, I missed a phone call.
oh. That's no
A
bueno.
couple of them actually.
Uh so yeah, I don't know what we were talking about Twitch, but then we just went off on a
We had a tangent today. We covered a bunch of shit.
Yes, we did. Rick, what was the thing you wanted to talk about?
So Nickmercs
Yeah.
has been underwater, under fire, underwater, everything getting canceled. He had a bundle on Call of Duty that just got revoked, and
What
now
the fuck happened?
So basically, what happened was a big fight happened in front of a school, and it was because of this month's celebration. And I believe it was either a middle or elementary. I don't know 100% of the facts, but
Yes.
all I know is it was a school,
Mm-hmm.
and it was for a pride event. And then there was a big fight, and there was, I guess, that fight was going viral, and people were commenting a whole bunch of things saying about this is messed up, yada 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 yada. And only thing Nickmercs basically responded to was, this is why they should leave kids alone, because of how parents may feel about certain things or whatever. But they're trying to say that try to keep things with pride a little bit away from kids, and at least like separate it, and then have the parents kind of teach them.
Well, this is what I've always advocated. I've always advocated that the raising of the child is upon the parent and should be upon the parent. I mean, that's where it starts. That's where it needs to be. Now, whatever a school decides to do, I don't really have control over that 100%. But at the same time, I mean, for instance, it's why I'm always about, it's like vaccinations and stuff like that. I mean, that's a whole tricky subject because considering what we went through over the last few years, and I would say the biggest thing
Or
is
100
just,
or 100.
or 100, yeah. But specifically, with this generation, the biggest one they're going to remember is 2020 and that whole nightmare situation.
I don't know, Ben. Like I have family members that have had to have situations with school systems.
Dude,
and
I'm talking like the
everything.
kids, dude. I'm talking like
I am too.
25
because
and younger.
The kids are like fucking people with fucking tuberculosis and shit and mumps at their fucking schools because their parents are fucking dumbasses. I've had family members have to move because they live in Florida. They've had to move schools and shit because it's like, no, my kid, blah, blah, blah. And then they have the fucking mumps because they live in a tourist area, but they don't want to get vaccinated. Whatever. I say let them. I say let motherfuckers go ahead. Let them do whatever they want
And
to,
that's-
and we'll
and-
just
and-
face every plague whenever they feel like they just know better than science. We'll face every plague.
Well, and
sure.
and this is my thing with it is just I would say vaccinations, like, I mean, Darwinism. I mean, that's all I can really say.
Yeah, make
it's
your
just-
choices. That's fine.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know, man. There's just a lot that goes into like what the public school systems do and what they how much control that they have over children. This is why if I ever have kids, I'm going to homeschool my kid. Cuz honestly, I think there's enough for me that I can be aware. And plus, my mom's a former instructor and she can help with that as well if it ever does happen. And honestly, I would also let my kids socialize and stuff like that. I would let them like go to the park and let them make friends and honestly, it's just a whole thing where it's like I don't trust our education system anymore because our education system doesn't seem to be about the betterment of kids anymore. Instead, it's all about pushing agendas. and
Yeah.
also like pushing what they think what they think history should say, or what they
Just
should
go to
think
the right
biology should.
places. Just go. You can move to the DMV area and be around DC and Maryland and Virginia, and go have your kids in schools with senators at their satellite schools. And you can go to right next to Amazon and right next to Google and all them, and send your kids to school there. Outside of that, it's pretty much a shit show, because just so long as the top of the top in our society is being served, the rest of us are left to just be fucked. Whatever, it's a bunch of fucking crazy dumbasses that are running all the fucking school systems, and it's
It
really
is.
just a power bid for themselves. They don't give a shit about the children. And it's gotten to the point where it's just so dumb. Even when I was about to graduate school, there was still all this. It used to be worse, dude. Mine and Nate's high school felt like they could regulate what you were doing outside of school.
Yes.
If you got caught, like, who knows, drinking underage or something at a party, and it was like in another state,
Yeah.
they would like ban you from the football team or something. Like,
Yep.
they would if you had a rumor spread about you on the internet outside of school that had nothing related to school at all, they would suspend you from school. They would
Dude.
do all this. Like, it's crazy.
I
It's
got
crazy.
one for you. Pre-internet, there was like someone, like, it was just after Columbine. It was like I was like 11 or 12 years old. And then all of a sudden, I heard the people talking about like school shootings and all that. And then all of a sudden, someone was just like, "Hey Nate, would you bring a gun to school?" I'm like, "No. Why would you ask me? I don't want to do that." The next thing you know, I'm getting suspended because someone heard us talking about it, and all of them basically said that I brought it up, and then boom. Next thing you know, I'm suspended. My mom basically has to find this out, and I really just I didn't understand why. I was just like, why am I being kicked out of school for? For a rumor, for something that no teacher actually heard me say or anything like that. Because isn't that what we're supposed to do? Like have evidence to back up what the accusation is.
Evidence.
Usually helps.
But we don't have that anymore. We don't have
Yeah.
evidence anymore. Instead, it's all just like, oh, everyone forms the narrative, everyone latches onto it, and then that's it. Doesn't matter what the truth actually is. It's like, oh, this is what everyone wants to believe, so therefore it's what's right. You don't have to convince. Like, that's the thing. You don't have to convince. Like you can tell the jury the truth. It's just, will they believe you?
Right.
That's how it always goes. And I
When
hate
it comes to your point, Rick, about the fucking, Pride Month and having it at school and shit like that, for me, in my personal opinion, it's part of our culture, it's part of our society, and it's also a way for the boogeyman to be dispelled. Because there's tons of people out there that think that if somebody's gay, then there's something nefarious about them. And if that's what people's want to teach, well, don't, huh?
Well,
That's not even, of course those people exist.
No, those people do exist, but at the same time, you're never
How
going to
is that
100% ever
questionable?
going to get rid of them. You're never going to
Yeah.
get rid of ignorance. I hate
You're
to
right.
say it.
I have family members that are that way, and I don't believe that way because I myself have, through knowing people in our society and being a part of our society, it's destigmatized that for me.
Yeah, and it's
So
basically
that's
you fighting
part of our
against your own
society.
ignorance.
It's bullshit that anybody should feel like they're unsafe because they're gay, and that's what the idea behind Pride is like, you don't have to be afraid.
Well-
Celebrate who you are as a person, and that's fine. I don't think there should be tutorials on like how they have sex or like what their sex lives are like. But I also think that it is important to be like, hey, in 2023 in America, do you, and nobody should hate you for it, and you shouldn't be afraid to be who you are.
No, and
Because
I
when
agree.
you are afraid to be who you are, then we get fucking John Wayne Gacy's and
Well,
people
no,
who are
and-
super oppressed and fucking hurt.
Well, I get that, and I agree. We need to be more open about like personally who we are, but at the same time, I just it's a balancing act, dude. That's like most
Yeah.
things in life. You have to find
Right.
balance, and you have to find what what truly is the right thing. And this may be another situation where there may not be a 100% right answer ever.
I tell you what I would do. I would stop worrying about Pride Month and start worrying about Valentine's Day and having little preschool children have to go tell somebody they have a crush on them, or have 5-year-olds thinking about romantic relationships just for fucking, for what? Why should we be pushing like love interests and shit like that on kids when they don't even? I remember being a kid and not even feeling that way. I just wanted candy. I wasn't worried about all that shit.
I was
But
5
it's
and I
like
had a crush
pushed.
on a girl.
It's the whole, okay, but like, why does the school system have to have anything to do with relationships between kids? That to me is much more questionable. Child beauty pageants that they have at schools and shit are much more problematic to me than why not make those complaints?
I
mean,
never
seriously,
agreed with those.
Right, but wouldn't you argue that that is way more of an issue than like Pride Month? Being like, hey, your Uncle Steve who dates guys, even though your other family members say shit about him, he's not they're wrong for bullying him about that. This is fine. If it's not your fucking,
Yeah, it was like that with me. I mean, my cousin Chris, my uncle Michael, like we had family members that were dicks to them and everything, and my great grandmother basically cussed them out and told them to get out of her house if they didn't have anything nice to say about him. And honestly, growing up around that, I guess maybe for me, I didn't have like that wool pulled over my eyes. Like all gay people are every gay person out there is a pervert and they're trying to get you and everything. Like, I'm glad I never had that instilled into me.
It's
and
a
I
big
guess
thing,
maybe
dude.
looking at it from my perspective, I'm just like I guess maybe I was lucky. I was one of the lucky ones that didn't have that. But in terms of Valentine's Day, I will give this excuse for Valentine's Day. It's the whole deal is like I would say when in preschool, no. I would say whenever you're older and you're like in you're starting to develop these feelings more naturally. And I think that should also be a thing with pride, like associated with like it's like if you're a guy and you have a crush on a guy, I mean, like just express yourself or whatever. I mean, and that's the other thing too is you don't have like that's often the thing with Valentine's as well. Like you don't have to tell, like you don't like it's a secret admirer or something like that, and it's just like it. That's another thing too. It's weird. Relationship stuff is weird. And learning about this stuff whenever you're hitting puberty is, I think, the more equitable thing versus doing it in preschool. I do agree with you on that point. Pushing Valentine's Day in preschool, like I would say, like have the hearts and like be like, I want you to write in this heart here who matters to you the most. Like your mother, your father, stuff like that. I think or your friends or stuff like that. But then when you get older and it's just like, oh, well, in terms of like, do you feel a certain way about someone? And if not, then you don't have to participate in Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Just for me, looking at what you were saying, Rick, and this guy, was blaming a fight on Pride Month. I think that's stupid as shit. And I think that
he wasn't blaming. It was basically I was reading up on it to make sure I get all my details correctly. So basically, it was a Pride event happening in school, and then people came to protest the event. And then that went out of this. It just blew up out of proportion. And he was looking at it in a way where it was like, he was saying like, basically, this is why you should separate it. This is why you should not have it involved because people feel so strongly about it. And it's best, it'll be best for kind of like for parents to like, be the people to talk to kids about it, about the situation. And then my opinion, he wanted a little spiel, whatever. But for me, I kind of feel the same way. Like if it's elementary, middle school, I don't think it should be involved. I think it'd be, or at least I would say maybe middle school, like maybe high school, it should be kind of introduced, maybe talked about it a little bit. Because when I grew up with majority of my IRL friends are gay or lesbians, or a lot of them has transition. But they never made it their main identity or trying to force the school system to talk about them. And it's like, for me, like, yes, they were bullied, yes, whatever. But I'm gonna make a big statement, and this is like only for me. You targeted at me. I feel like the new generation of the people of the community became the bullies
A lot of
because
them
now
did. I could see a lot of them
there's
becoming, yeah.
there's a minority of them that speaks for the majority, and it makes my friends look bad. And I like I said, my most of my IRL friends are part of the community. Majority of my bestest of friends are either they're gay or lesbians or they actually transitioned, and we've had discussions where they're like they sometimes they even feel scared to even like go out because since you have the whole reckless the bunches of them that's making them targets because they're
Well,
demanding too much.
extremism begets extremism. I hate to say it, but whenever you have too many extremes on one side, it often bores like more extremes on the other, and it comes down to the point where everyone just has to calm down and find a middle ground because we don't have to agree on
Hmm.
everything, but we all have to agree that we have to live together on this freaking world
Yeah, I
because
agree.
because let's look at the truth of this. We're all human. None of us are
Hmm.
Mm.
perfect. All of us are going to have our fallacies and flaws that are going to just like other people are going to see, and they're just going to be like, I don't want anything to do with that person. It's just like anyone who talks about the American South. Like there's people who talk about the American South and pretend like there's still a bunch of like just lynchings around like every corner and this and that and blah blah blah. And while there are ignorant asshats down here, I've ran into a few of them myself. Hell, I'm related to a few of them.
There's a
And
lot.
yeah, here's what I'll say. They are not the majority. A lot of them are a bunch of ignorant ass backwoods motherfuckers. As a matter of fact, Gideon went to like what was
I've seen that
considered
video.
the most racist place in the United States, like by consensus, like
Hmm.
nationwide consensus. He went there and he basically met like the most racist person, most racist people, and they were like not threatening or anything like that. Not to say that if he had enough people around him, he would be he would be
Mm.
threatening. I don't
It's
know.
usually behind closed doors. Most blatant racists that I know are like some of the biggest cowards I know also.
Oh yeah. Well,
They'll, as
that's
long as it's just like if Rick was in the room, they wouldn't say shit. But
oh
as
yeah,
soon as he was
cowardice.
gone, oh, that you know what, blah blah
Yeah.
blah, you know,
Well it begets cowardice, and honestly,
and
those are the people.
ignorance.
Yeah, cowardice, ignorance. Just like some of the worst qualities of humanity. And
Yeah.
and I would say the biggest thing is just that the fact that like for a long time that has been very concisely dying out, and it's
It
never gonna
has.
go away. It is
I
not
will
gonna go away
say
though.
that in our area, the place where you will find the most blatant racists are at the bottom of the economic ladder and
Mm-hmm.
at the top of the economic ladder. You find the nobody have nothing, just awful trailer park living dude, and he will be super awful racist. And then you find the my daddy flies me in on his helicopter and owned all these coal mines, and we've got this big farmland, and I drive a Mercedes, but he's also the most big, like huge racist. But it's in the middle where like most people
Like
live
ninety
that
seven
you
percent of people. Yeah,
that you find just people who don't give a shit
Yeah, they're
about all
I
that
chill.
don't.
stuff, and they're
I
just
never
trying
give
to
a shit.
survive, and they all work together in a pretty diverse situation. But it's just like the super lower class and the super upper class have been just
It's
awful.
yeah, and you see it's often the case like people point at instances of like the actions of one of those and thus
Mm.
anchors it to the whole thing, and it's like
Well,
i
you
i hate
said
doing that.
97%. There's a lot of super poor people around here. A lot. A mass majority are super poor in
Yeah,
our area.
I would say okay, 97%. I would say if that's nationwide, I would say in our area it's probably like
It's a
72
lot
75
of
72 to
poor people.
75%.
It would be considered below the poverty line in our area is most people.
Dirt floors, like
Not dirt floors, but having a really hard
some of them some
on
of them got
assisted
dirt floors. I've
living.
seen I've seen some dirt floors.
If you go out towards like Appalachia and like you
Oh,
go out
dude.
towards um, Lee County in certain areas and shit, you're going to see what you would picture as third world poverty levels.
Yeah.
really fucked up shit with
Trash
people with
piles,
pots,
people burning trash piles, and just
just sewage, open
out.
sewage and shit,
Yeah,
like really bad stuff.
throwing diapers in their front yard for the dogs to
Hmm.
feed on.
Seriously, yeah, no joke.
It's some nasty shit, dude.
And unfortunately, the exposure that they've had to gay people, black people, even though there's like Mexican restaurants and stuff around like a mile or two down the road, they don't go to them. They don't like Mexicans. They don't, and you talk to these people and you realize they have no clue why they hate other people like this. Their reasons are
Ignorance.
completely ignorant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just instilled.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. So I think for people that grow up in communities like that, Pride Month is something that would be good for somebody who's like 12 or 13 to hear about whenever their grandmother literally tells them that they're possessed by a demon and they're going to fucking hell because they're attracted to the same sex.
oh
That's a
boy,
real thing, like in Pentecostal churches and shit
Yeah.
like that in this area. I have a friend who told us that's grandmother told us she saw some lesbians in Walmart one time and that it took everything in her not to physically hurt them and was dead serious about it. And we're just like, dude, your grandmother is fucking horrible.
yeah. Well,
Why does she feel so
and
angry? Like she wants
My
to
own
hurt people.
grandmother disowned well, my aunt disowned my cousin. The reason
Yeah.
the reason I call her aunt is the reason I call her grandmother because she remarried with my grandfather, my dad's father.
Uh-huh.
So I'm always used to calling her grandma, but technically speaking, she's my aunt. But
Right.
my grandfather on my dad's side remarried with my mom's mother's sister. So
Right.
she's my auntie grandma. But besides that, my aunt is extremely
Prejudiced.
religious.
Yeah.
And my cousin, which is her own daughter, is a lesbian.
Mhm. Yes.
And for maybe 5 or 6 years of her life, just disowned her, didn't talk with
It's
her or anything like
terrible.
that.
That's
And
terrible.
I like I said, I've seen that kind of stuff, and that's why I kind of feel a bit more, I guess, what's that word? Uh, not this is a word. I guess like strongly with this is because
Yeah.
I have so many links to the
Mhm.
LGBT that I
Yeah.
may not be part of the community itself, but my closest of friends, like people who I would die for,
Yeah.
are a part of that community.
Right.
Like all like
Well, my
yeah.
partner is Nikki's bisexual. My partner that I've been with for 7 years. Like I've seen people talk about her, like calling her shit that's derogatory towards homosexuals, and it's just like, dude. And I know that her struggle forever accepting those feelings she was having about women made her feel terrible about herself because of shit that she's experienced in her life, and she was afraid to ever let that part of herself be known, even to me and to herself, like just deep denial, self-hatred.
Well, for
And it's
you, for her, like with you, I mean, she would think that you're like like that mean to you. She sees that as like a betrayal to you in some way,
right. Yeah, but
and it's yeah, and the fear of that, like that's another thing too. Is just like I had a girl leave me because she found out she was like we'd been in a relationship for like 4 months, and then all of a sudden she just opened up to me that she preferred the company of women, and it's like, and it hurt, and
yeah.
I was just
Well,
like,
it'd be
and
just like if she walked out on you with a guy. It's no different. It's
it
just
isn't.
like, why am I
Well,
not enough?
and that's the thing,
You
and
know?
you see, for me, it fucked with me for a little while because I was just like, damn, I am so bad. I made a woman quit the
Hmm.
dick. That
Mhm.
like
Or
that's
maybe you just scared her off, Nate. That's all it was.
no. Well,
It was
I
too
didn't know how
much.
to. I didn't know how to
Too
feel about it,
girthy.
dude. I didn't know how to feel about it. I was just like, dear God, I'm just
Uh,
that bad of a dude. I'm like, I
nah.
hate
Well,
myself.
yeah, my sister turned her first boyfriend gay,
Damn.
but
Ooh, ooh.
the point I'm trying to make is that
Go ahead,
I
dude.
have all these strong feelings because, like I said, majority of my friends, I've
Mhm.
seen they got jumped in front of my face. Some of them got sent to the hospital. Another one of my
Horrible.
closest friend, like her parents literally kicked her out of the house, and
Horrible.
she was like in the street for a little bit. And
Mhm.
I've had such a deep connection And then when I start seeing videos of like, trans people going to like elementary schools and trying to teach kids how to twerk, or like they're pole dancing in front of like preschoolers or kindergartens, or you see like that kind of stuff is what like bothers me. That's why I'm like, yes, like it was starting to get more prominent in my middle school life, like towards like 7th, 8th grade. But the fact that, yes, they have a more stronger voice now, and yes, they have a little bit more laws, and I'm for that 100%. But it's like we gave them a mile, we gave them a yard, and now they're taking a mile. And now that like what I've been seeing that's been going viral, yes, it's a very small minority, but they're that small minority of the extreme vocalists of that community is making the whole community look bad. And I have people in my life that literally almost died just to be who they are, and these people are taking advantage of it, and they said going to elementary schools and trying to teach kids how to twerk and wearing very revealing
an individual
clothes.
thing,
They're,
bro.
they're wearing like the little like the stockings and the high
But
heels.
how would you feel if I was like, dude, I know this Puerto Rican guy that's robbed a store over here, and this other Cuban guy robbed a store down here. They're all robbers. We got to stop robberies from Puerto Ricans and Cubans. Like, these are, yes, they're trans activists, but that's them on an individual basis. If there's somebody twerking in front of kids, I don't care if they're gay, straight, trans, whatever, that's problematic, and that individual should be dealt with. And look, make an example out of that person.
And,
if you do this,
that's the part
then
that
you
gets
are
me, because
wrong.
no one is outing them out. And it's like there's nobody even within the community that will say that.
That's on the community. That's on that community. In my opinion,
it's the same as like the giant blue wall of silence that existed for so long in the police community, and now it's gone away for the most part. And you get cops who are not only just they see it as ratting, and now cops are not seeing it as ratting anymore. It's like telling the truth. That's how they see it.
There are
now.
bad police officers, and they need to be dealt with on an individual basis. And everyone should be accountable for themselves.
Yes,
directly.
I agree with that. 100%.
And I guarantee you that out of these incidents that you're talking about, there are people that are holding those individual people to account. It's just not breaking news. We don't follow these stories to where they end.
Unfortunately,
the breaking news is, hey, black guy stabs woman on a subway. Oh, a transgender person is twerking in front of elementary school students. We don't see we don't need to take the law into our own hands over this guy that stabbed this lady, because he goes to jail. He goes to prison. This person who twerked in front of these children, banned from the school, not allowed to go back, whatever. We don't know. We don't know what happens. It's just these, hey, can you believe this? And based on that, if it was left up to me or Rick or Nate to figure out, of course, we would be like, this has to stop. I want this to not be a thing. But it's not given to us as, whatever this person's name is that did this. It's this community is about this.
Well,
that's what makes people anti-trans. It's what makes people anti-black. That's what happens.
Yeah, and it's it's a trend that I hate that news cycles do, because it basically, instead of focusing on the individuals that do something wrong, instead you focus on the community,
the color, whatever descriptive term you want to put them in. You know,
it's like the LARPing community. Like someone in the LARPing community commits a horrible hate crime. Next thing you know, it's like, LARPing is actually a form of white supremacy, right? It's like
or the video game community is sexist.
Gamer.
That's
where a lot of this shit started. Just like the giant homogenous blanketing blame game. And that's where
GTA
a lot of this
creates
shit started.
murderers.
Yeah. That, you see, stuff like that, and you see that's them blaming directly GTA. You see, news media switched up how they did it after Gamergate. After Gamergate, they were like, oh shit, we can get more clicks if we just throw a blanket over it and say it's an opinion piece.
Yeah.
That's it. And guess what? They get away with it every single day, and no one is held accountable.
I would be, to finish up my thoughts on this, I would be totally on board with taking someone who has a huge platform to influence so many people and uses it to slander a movement because of a video clip. That would be like being anti-black because you saw a news article and saying something stupid about it when tons of people are listening to you. You can't just say shit like that when you're highly influential. And if he's got stuff on modern warfare and shit, there's a lot of kids that are listening to this guy and thinking he's rough, tough, and cool. And I get to be the Fonz if I do like this guy does.
Well,
And if he says he's anti-pride, then that makes being anti-gay look cool.
Well, and that's
And
the
that's
thing.
not
That's the
cool.
and that's the clarification, though. He wasn't being anti-pride. He was just saying like keep it out of keep it out of schools to a certain degree.
Which is wrong. I don't personally agree with that.
Well, I think again, this is just something we're gonna have to find balance on because it's just because right now there's pushback against it, just like there's pushback against certain things that's going on, like just in regular everyday life. And you're never going to make 100% of people happy. The important thing is like judge like an individual basis, like you're saying, Chad. Like we have to approach this from a more individual basis, and we have to basically just find out. Like
Imagine this, Nate.
if there is someone going too far, we need to take care of that person who's going too far and protect the rest of the community who is actually wanting to do good, who wants to do good work. And
Yeah.
you see, that's how it should be. But people are just so quick to like knee jerk reaction and just like point a finger at the whole communities and everything. And Nickmercs, I would say the biggest thing is like he was very broad with his statement. He should have been a little bit more
Yes.
precise with
Yes.
his words. I think that's what it should have. I think he should have been more precise with his words, and he should have like added more context to it, because that's the thing. Context is key. And I know there's a lot of people out there who just say fuck context. You said what you said, and I'm going to interpret it however the hell I want. It's just like that's how people do. I hate to say it, but I would
What
say
about if somebody said, there's a fight because they started segregating schools? See, they got to keep this out of the schools.
well,
Keep
that's
civil rights out of the schools.
well,
It's
well,
like
no, that well again, that's my
That's
whole
problematic.
thing with it. Well, it's problematic, but on that point, but in the point of of pride and everything, there are no laws against there's no Jim Crow laws against like homosexuality, like people expressing themselves in schools and stuff like that. There's no laws against it. And
there's been plenty of laws against homosexuality recently, very recently.
well, there are now. Well, like more and more are being pushed through the pipeline, but it's because again of the extremism that's just like being presented on both sides, and like it just depends on who gets the politician's ear. That's it. But and I hate this, and the whole deal with it is like in schools right now, there's no laws against like kids expressing themselves and being gay and anything like that. Whereas
Depends on where you're at.
well, again, depends on where you're at. Okay, but there's no nationwide thing. But I would say in states where that is illegal, I will fight that. I will fight where it is illegal for children to express themselves however they wish. If they think they're gay, if they think if they feel that they're gay or they're bisexual or they're trans, I think they should be allowed to express themselves. But at the same time, I think that overall, like segregation, where it was a big thing, a big swath like across the nation for a long time. Like I like the big fight against that. I will support the right for people to express themselves 100%, no doubt, until the end of time. I will always be there to support people to express themselves as long as they aren't harming other people. That's the thing. Whatever it's a religion, Islam, no religion, and it's just like a cultural thing. It's like people who want to like wear a yarmulke to school because they're like it's Yom Kippur and they want to like show like they have to wear the yarmulke, or it's again. There's just so many voices and so many things going on that there's just a lot of things getting left behind in the cruft. And I think that I think the biggest thing is just like you need to take time to solve these things. But that's the thing. Politicians want to drag their feet and keep people divided as much as possible so that because that's the thing. They don't need everyone to like them. They just need a majority of people to get them in there. And again, I could go on and on about term limits, but the whole deal with just pride and segregation and and all that, I would say the biggest thing is just we're never going to agree 100% with everybody on all this shit ever.
Yeah.
And
well,
there's always going to be
gay
pockets
people
that,
wouldn't have to have a celebratory month if they hadn't been repressed for so long.
well, and the same thing.
If it was normal and they didn't have to go through so much hell, there would be no reason to make a fuss about it at all.
And I would say right now it is more accepting to be gay in this country than ever in the history of this country. And
thank God.
And I'm glad. I am very glad. I'm glad that my uncle was able to get married before he died. I'm glad that my cousin Chris is able to get married whenever he decides if he ever does want to settle down. I mean, it's a whole thing. Like, I'm glad and I'm happy that progress has been made to the point where people in this country who feel a certain way, are able to live their lives however they want. But again, there is a point where things do go too far. For instance, everyone was on the BLM train in 2020. Everyone was on the BLM train. And then what happened a couple of years ago? We found out, turns out BLM is not a charity organization, and everyone just got grifted out of billions and billions of dollars.
It got hijacked. Many things do.
Patricia Cullors came in there, and she basically took it over and spent, what was it, $3.5 million on herself?
It went from several different community organizations trying to stand up for themselves to being monopolized by, pretty much the Democratic Party took it over and took donation monies and all that. Instead of helping communities, they helped Joe Biden, which is so much bullshit. That's what politicians do.
$3 million house, another $2 million house.
And that's my whole thing with it, is just things can spiral out of control so quickly if we don't manage it and look after it, and if we're just blind to it. Because politicians, that's what they want. They want everyone to be confused. They want everyone to just be at each other's throats because it makes us easy to manipulate each other.
I gotta hop off here. Nikki's locked out of the house.
All right, we'll end it here, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Nate.
I'm Rick.
I'm Chad.
And we'll see y'all later, everybody. Peace.
Bye.